Hello, boys and girls of the internet. My name is Beard in Marketing, and I talk about all things marketing. Thank you for being here with us today. Feel free to agree or disagree with me politely in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to share it with a friend. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Let's grow our marketing community. Today, I want us to talk about how to position your brand. As we talk about how to position your brand, I'm going to take you guys through a marketing crash course of the 4 P's of marketing. So there's something in marketing known as the 4 P's of marketing. I guess if you understand these 4 P's of marketing, then understanding how to market your product becomes easier, and you're then able to market your product much easier to your consumer. So the first thing is the product. So what are you trying to sell, right? The second thing is the price. How much are you trying to sell your product at? The third thing is the place. Where are you selling your product at? And then the fourth is promotion. So how are you getting your consumers to know about your product? Now, guys, the only way you can position your brand, if you're selling anything in Kenya, if you're selling anything in the world, you need to know how you want to position your brand. Number one, do you want to sell your brand to maybe the rich and affluent, right? Or do you want to sell your brand maybe to the rich and affluent, but then who have they are more environmentally conscious, they care about the environment and things like that? There are very many ways to segment a consumer. Do you want to sell your product to maybe the middle class of Kenya? Because the middle class is also a huge driving force in terms of consumption in Kenya. Do you also want to sell your product to the low segment in Kenya? The low segment in Kenya is also quite huge, right? And it's one of those it's one of those markets that if you tap into well, you'll be able to sell your product in Kenya. If you tap into the low segment in Kenya and you tap into it well, you'll be able to sell your product very well. Your product will fly off the shelf. In fact, if you're looking at driving volume in Kenya, if you want a product that will obviously, what you're trying to push out is mostly volume, then I think the best segment to look at is your lower segment in Kenya. If you're trying to push out, if you're trying to get better margins, I would say, and maybe build a brand more, I would say you're targeting more your middle class and your higher end consumer in Kenya, right? So number one is product. So if you're going to target your higher end consumer, then your product obviously has to speak to that consumer. That consumer is looking for a quality product, is looking for a product that serves a purpose, is looking for a product that has convenience. So your product needs to have all these things pamoja. If you're targeting maybe a middle class consumer might be able, maybe there are some things they'll want to trade off for price. No, not for price, for quality. There's some things in terms of the product they would want to trade off so that the price is less than kidogo. So maybe that will be convenience, for instance. Maybe your convenience. What would be an example of convenience? Maybe one of the things you can do is that they would have to assemble that product. Let's say you're a furniture shop. How you make it is that you make it so that these guys are able to assemble this product for themselves. And I think this has been done well by brands like IKEA in the US. The consumer, mostly middle class, will assemble the furniture for themselves. You will never see that happening. Okay, it might happen, but then to a smaller quantity with the high-end consumer. The high-end consumer wants to buy the final product. They want to buy the product, finished product, mzuri, hakuna mashida, plug and play. So those are some of the things you have to think about in product. Now in price, I think price is the most common one. This is the one which people normally use. They say, I am going to market this thing at this price, and the only person who's going to be able to afford this price is this type of consumer. So price is a no-brainer. I feel like many people use price in Kenya. But then also, when you're pricing, remember there's also a risk that you might price wrongly, right? Remember that story I was telling you about Dreamers Inc. You go into market, you think you've priced your product right, and then when you go into market, the consumer that you're looking at is telling you, hey, your pricing is not right. You're too affordable. And sometimes price can even alienate that consumer, because that consumer will be like, okay, so you're telling me you're going to give me all this at this price? there has to be a catch. That's what they're thinking. So price is also very important in how you communicate the brand and how you position that brand, right? Never forget that. Always make sure that you tweak your pricing, and pricing is one of those things, in my opinion. Pricing is one of those things that, in my opinion, you will, if you're starting off your business, you'll have to learn as you go. You will just have to iterate, especially if you're a service-based, professional-based business. You just have to change things. You're like, okay, so now I think I've bought this. I have better equipment. I need to increase my price. I need to charge a premium for that. Because if you're investing and innovating in your business, then obviously that also needs to reflect in your price card. The next thing is the place. And this is one of those things that I feel like Kenyans rarely ever talk about. People will come to social media and they'll tell you all these things about, you need to be on social media. But what people never tell you is the importance of place. That's why you'll hear a lot of people talking in the marketing field. They talk about route to market. Are you in the right places? Are you in the places that you're targeting the correct consumer? So let's take, for instance, my Sunnies. Let's go in with my Sunnies again. In fact, a huge shout out to this Sunnies company. They are called Waridi. They are a phenomenal Kenyan brand. They made this in Kenya. This is 100% made in Kenya. They used furniture, wood from furniture. They reuse wood waste from the furniture making process. Very interesting stuff. You should go check them out. They are also one of my clients. That's also, I think, one of those things that I need to mention, but I genuinely love their product. So anyway, I was talking about, let's use my Sunnies for example. Where would we place these Sunnies? These Sunnies, they are targeting a consumer, I would say upper middle class to your high-end consumer. These are the people who these Sunnies are targeting. If I put these Sunnies, for instance, if I go take my Sunnies to an event that is not, I would say, occasioned by this kind of consumer, then if I'm activating at that event, I will definitely not sell the tickets to the point that I want to sell them. You understand what I'm saying? So one of the things that I have seen that Waridi is doing, and they're doing very well, is they are ensuring that they're placing their product in the right places. They're in the right pop-ups, they're in the right events, they are targeting the right clientele, and that's very important. You need to ensure that your product is in the right spaces. Is it in the footfall of your consumer? And this can even, it goes even to educate like why you're opening up your shops, right? So for example, if I put this, if I open a shop, for example, in Greenspan Mall. Greenspan Mall is in Donholm. I think Donholm is your, mostly I would say, the consumer that lives in Donholm would be your middle class in Kenya, right? Like I've told you, this is targeting an upper middle class to upper middle class and high-end consumer. So one of the things that they did, and I think they did it very well, is that they opened a shop in Gigiri, because they know that this consumer is going to be, those are the places that they normally frequent. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, that's how people think about things in marketing. So in marketing, people, sometimes it sounds very rude when I say it, but guys, please don't take offense when I say it. This is just how people speak in marketing. In marketing, people, even when we're targeting, when people put out a product and they're targeting a particular race, those are conversations that people have. We're targeting this demographic. Most of our consumers are of this demographic, and it's just a conversation that people have in marketing to make it easier. So I hope no one gets offended with the kind of conversations that we have on here. And then the last thing is the promotion, is how are you selling your product? So remember that conversation that we had in terms of when you are selling your brand, you need to remember the mirror and window analogy. Your brand needs to be a mirror. Why is it a mirror? Because the consumer needs to see themselves in it. But your brand also needs to be a window. Why does it need to be a window? It needs to serve an element of aspiration. If your brand is not serving aspiration, chances are consumers are not going to pick it up. I think that has been it. I hope you guys have picked up a thing or two about how to position a brand. Tell me if you agree or disagree with me. If you think I've kuna pali hapo nimechocha kidogo. There's a guy who in a previous video he asked me, so bro, do you actually think a luxury brand of watches will actually cost 20,000? And I was like, yeah, that's a reasonable challenge. A luxury brand of watches might cost a bit more than that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and yeah, I think we're going to end this one here.